The Balkan region consists of the coastal area and southeastern Europe. Today it's made of countries like Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, and Greece. For hundreds of years, beginning in the 1600s, the Balkan region was ruled by the Ottoman Empire. During the 1800s, the Ottoman Empire began to crumble in Europe, and gradually the Balkan nations gained their independence. By 1900, there was a lot of turmoil in the region due to wars in the Balkans over religious differences and conflicts over territory and borders. Some countries in the north, such as Austria and Russia, had their sights set on Balkan land and thought it might be easy to claim Balkan lands because of all the unrest. In 1908, Austria decided to annex the entire Bosnia and Herzegovina region. Many Serbians felt that they would be next, and they formed secret terrorist organizations to rebel violently against Austria. One of these organizations was called the Black Hand. On June 28, 1914, a Black Hand operative named Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne of Austria, along with his wife, Sophie. This single act of terrorism began what was at the time called the Great War, which we now call World War I. Many alliances existed between European countries at the time. These alliances are what led to the Great War. Germany and Austria-Hungary made an alliance to protect themselves from Russia. Austria-Hungary made an alliance with Serbia to stop Russia gaining control of Serbia. Germany and Austria-Hungary made an alliance with Italy to stop Italy from taking sides with Russia. Russia formed an alliance with France to protect itself against Germany and Austria-Hungary. France and Britain formed a cordial agreement. Britain and Russia formed an agreement. Russia, France, and Britain allied to counter the increasing threat from Germany. Britain, Russia, and France agreed not to sign for peace separately. Since Austria wanted Serbia's land anyway, they saw the assassination as a good excuse to declare war on Serbia. They assumed this war would be quick and easy. They were wrong. Even after many more countries were involved, it was thought that the war would be over by Christmas of 1914. This military optimism is a mistake that has been repeated by world leaders often. Eventually, virtually every developed nation in the Northern Hemisphere became involved. Here is how some of these countries were sucked into the conflict. Russia came to the aid of Serbia. Germany came to the aid of Austria. France jumped in to help Russia. German troops entered Belgium, which was neutral at the time. Britain came to the aid of Belgium, declaring war on Germany. Japan came to the aid of Britain, declaring war on Germany. The Ottoman Empire joined Germany's fight against Russia in the Middle East. Italy, who was allied with Austria and Germany at the start of the war, switched sides and declared war on Austria. Romania stayed neutral for several years, but was persuaded to join Britain and declared war on Austria. India was ruled by Britain and came to Britain's aid in the east. The U.S. tried to stay neutral and broker an end to the war, but they found out the Germans were trying to enlist Mexico and Japan, who were their enemies, against the U.S. German submarines also sank 7 U.S. civilian ships. Eventually, the U.S. declared war on Germany 3 years after World War I began. After war was declared by Germany, the Germans wanted to quickly defeat France so they could move east to fight Russia. Their plan took them through Belgium, which brought England into the war. They almost reached Paris, but were stopped by the Allies. Despite this defeat, the Germans annihilated the Russians on the Eastern Front. Austria invaded Serbia, but was driven back out of the country. The Russians also won a victory over the Austrians. With the beginning of trench warfare on the Western Front, Britain and France tried to break through the German lines. Germany launched only limited attacks in the West, but introduced the use of poisonous gas warfare, which gave them an advantage. Several major offensives were launched by Britain and France, but were unsuccessful. Italy joined the war on their side and bolstered the English and French troops. German and Austrian forces began to coordinate their operations and again severely defeated the Russians on the Eastern Front. Naval operations were well underway. British and German fleets battled off the English coast. Both sides claimed victory, but it was actually a strategic victory for the British. The British held their ground, but suffered major casualties. Russia was able to recover. and successfully returned to the battlefield in the east. Colonial empires also clashed in Africa, and German colonies were taken by Allies. In the Middle East, British forces were successful in several offensives. Germany started 1917 by falling back into a strong position. After the United States was angered by Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare, they entered the war. Returning to the offensive, the French were badly defeated in battle, leading some units to mutiny. Without the help of the French, the British were able to win limited victories, but also suffered heavy losses. Despite some success in 1916, Russia began to collapse internally as a revolt broke out and the communists came to power. Seeking to leave the war, they signed a treaty in early 1918. With troops from the Eastern Front freed for service in the West, Germany sought to inflict a decisive blow on the tired British and French before American troops could arrive in large numbers. Launching a series of spring offensives, the Germans stretched the Allies to the brink, but were unable to break through. Recovering from the German onslaughts, the Allies counterattacked in August with the 100 Days Offensive. Slamming into the German lines, the Allies won key victories and forced the Germans into full retreat. Allied forces compelled Germany to seek an armistice on November 11, 1918. The Paris Peace Conference is where the documents that ended the war were drafted by the leaders of Britain, the U.S., and France. The Treaty of Versailles redrew the map of Europe and inflicted harsh terms on Germany, including loss of territory, military restrictions, and acceptance of sole responsibility for the war. The harsh terms of the treaty left Germany very discontented and led to the rise of blind nationalism that eventually put the Nazi Party in power, leading to World War II.